Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Monday, everybody. Today we're going to preview the astrology for the week ahead. There's a few major transits that we're going to be looking at in summary today and then in detail as the week goes on. So it starts with the Sun square to Neptune. We're also going to be looking at the upcoming Venus-Jupiter trine. We'll have some horoscopes on that this week too. It's one of the more positive transits of the year, in my humble opinion. We will also be looking at the Sun entering Capricorn, the winter solstice, and the square of the Sun to the nodes of the Moon briefly at the end of the week. So some good things to come. We'll preview them today, give you a sense for what's coming in this week of December. Before we get into it, as always, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps our channel to grow. If you watch regularly and are not yet subscribed, please consider doing it. It's free to do so. It really helps us grow our work. Transcripts of any of these daily talks can be found on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. Couple of things coming up this Thursday night. If you go over to the website, nightlightastrology.com, I'll take you there right now. Whoops, here we go. I have a webinar coming up Thursday night on the 6th house. So if you go over to nightlightastrology.com and you click on the events tab, go to live talks, you'll see this Thursday night, the 6th house, a webinar that I'm giving on one of the more difficult houses, but we're going to explore why this house has a reputation for being so difficult, and also what some of the more positive or beneficial sides of this house are that are often overlooked because we tend to focus on the more difficult qualities of the house. So if you've got planets in the 6th, this might be a good one for you. Or if you're a practitioner who works with people trying to find ways of constructively talking about the 6th house, this is also a really, it's going to be a good one for you too. You register, you'll get the link to attend the webinar live. It's Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. If you can't make it, we'll send you the live, the recording afterward. Now, also, we have a solstice event coming up this weekend. Go to in-person events under events tab. It's in Minneapolis at the Grapevine Collective, Saturday night, 6 to 8:30 p.m. You RSVP. It's free to attend. We just need to know who's coming so that we can bring enough tea and cookies. Got to have that. So on that note, I am also in promotion of the annual Kickstarter campaign. We are trying to get to 1,937 backers by January 1st. As of the time I'm recording this, we have 470 backers. There is just about 16 days left in our Kickstarter campaign, and we still need about 1,467 backers. So we have a long way to go, and we really need a lot of help coming in these last days of the Kickstarter. Again, we have about 16 days left as of the time I'm recording this introduction, and we still have 1,467 backers we need support from. A donation of $5, $10, $15, anything helps. Of course, we have tons of great rewards available for things like classes and readings, exclusive content like horoscopes for the year ahead that you can get when you support the channel. So I will be giving a little video attached to the end of today's talk explaining those rewards and what you can get when you donate. But if you have already donated, a big thank you for being one of the 470 subscribers who has already backed this channel and all the free content in the year ahead. If you haven't yet, please consider pitching in. The link is in the description of this video. It is pinned to the top of the comment section, and you will also find a link over on nightlightastrology.com. Now, every day I like to talk about the things that I intentionally bake into the content, and lately I've also been talking about the kinds of things that I think make the channel valuable. You can say on a little checklist, do I get this from this channel? If so, maybe I should consider donating. So one of the things that I put in for today is laughter. I talk about purposely baking laughter into the way I create content, trying to make it uplifting, lighthearted, funny, humorous. Being able to laugh at myself as a content creator, I think, has kept me sane for many years of doing this daily. But also for you, do you find that you're able to find the humor in the situations that you're in life? Are you able to find the cosmic absurdity, joy, wonder, and the smile that creeps across your face when you realize how magnificent and silly this whole thing is? You know, if that's something that this channel provides you with, a little upliftment, a little lightness, then you may consider donating and supporting us in all the good work we do to make astrology affordable and accessible through all of our school programs and everything like that. So anyway, on that note, we will now take a look at the astrology for the week ahead, and be sure at the end to stick around to hear more about the rewards, including lots of good tuition breaks on all of our classes. All right, let's get into it. We're looking at several different transits this week. I'll run through them first, and then we'll pop up the real-time clock, give you a sense of the timing, and then spend a little time with each one of them. And of course, remember, as the week goes on, I'll be unpacking each of these transits individually maybe save for Mercury turning direct, which is today. So we'll spend a little bit more time on that today. And we've already spent some time on that at the end of last week as well. Anyhow, the first transit of the week is today. Mercury's direct, kind of yesterday into today, that Mercury stations direct in Sagittarius. We'll mention that again, spend a little time with it here today. On the 18th, a couple days later into the week, the sun will square Neptune. That's from Sagittarius to Pisces, both Jupiter-ruled signs. I think that's really fascinating as Jupiter is moving into a square with Saturn. A lot of the planetary transits of the month are activating or participating through dignities in the Jupiter-Saturn square. So that continues to be a major theme for the month of December, something that we'll visit a few more times this month as the square draws closer near the Christmas holiday. On the 19th, we have maybe one of the more benefic transits of the year, which is really always the case when the two benefics get into a trine with one another. That's Venus and Jupiter. They trine on the 19th from Aquarius, Venus and Aquarius, to Jupiter in Gemini. That trine is something we're actually going to do some horoscopes with later this week. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the masterclass series I'm teaching in 2025 with the trigonal houses. And we'll use this as a way of talking about that. I'll tell you a little bit about that because I've been trying to find a way to tell people about the masterclass series that I'm doing, which is all about the houses that are connected by trines and how we can make more meaningful connections between them. So I figured we might spend just a minute talking about the trigonal houses and how they were connected philosophically, and then do some horoscopes for Venus, Jupiter. So we'll look at that this week. We'll talk about it a little bit today too. And then of course, the 21st coming in at the end of the week is the winter solstice. I will spend a little bit of time talking about the winter solstice and Capricorn from the perspective of ancient astrology, some of the symbolism that Capricorn participates in through the seasonal symbolism of the journey of light and dark that is the solar year. So that'll be fun. Just a little bit also for us when it comes to deepening our understanding of this celestial symbolism, the celestial symbolism of Capricorn, because I don't know, I think there's a few signs that where we get, there's like, oh, we've got part of our understanding about the sign correct, but then, you know, we're missing a lot. And I think Capricorn is definitely one of those signs. We think, what is Capricorn? Grumpy, unbearably hard and practical. You know, it's like, well, you know, that's part of it, but there's a lot more there. And actually looking at the winter solstice moment from the standpoint of the Northern Hemisphere can give us a lot of insight into some of the deeper and richer and earthy and feminine side of Capricorn. So we'll do a little bit of that this week as a way of acknowledging this ritual moment in the calendar year. Of course, for people in the Southern Hemisphere, you have the opposite solstice going on. I'll say a few words about what I think we can do. What do you do with a moment that isn't oriented toward your hemisphere? And I'll say something about that when we get to the winter solstice talk as well. So anyway, that's it. Let's go through each of these now with the real-time clock, starting with Mercury turning direct. I'm going to put the chart up on the screen here. And here we can see that Mercury, you'll see if you've got solar fire like I do, you'll see the little S underneath it, which means it's not moving. It's now just turning direct today. So if we bring this forward just a touch by some hours, we'll see that that S disappears later in the day here, Monday, December 16th, and Mercury's now in direct motion. Now, one of the reasons that this is significant is that we just had a full moon in Gemini over the weekend, ruled by Mercury turning direct. We looked at that last week. And what else comes to mind? This is a Mercury who has a lot of work to do as it moves back direct through some of the degrees covered in the retrograde. First of all, the opposition with Jupiter is absolutely huge. How many times have we talked about that opposition with Jupiter now? Mutual reception by detriment through an opposition. This is a negotiating table between these two planets. They are working something out. They're coming to terms. They're coming to agreements. They are stepping into each other's perspectives and out of their own and sort of working through some kind of tension or difficulty to come to agreement. There is a tension of opposites being amplified by this change of Mercury's direction, and also a process of holding and working with opposites that will continue this month. And that is going to be a little bit different for each of us depending on the house location. We did some horoscopes for the full moon in Gemini and told you to look at that house location. You could also easily look at the opposite house of Sagittarius, or look at that kind of the duality between the two houses as a pair, and the topics that come together as the complementary opposites of two houses. So Mercury, if we just kind of track out where Mercury's heading the rest of this month, let's go forward just a little bit. We'll take Mercury up through the, here it is. Here's the opposition that Mercury creates December 26th, just after Christmas. You can see Mercury opposing Jupiter. This is this is the peak moment of their dynamic because it's the last one. At the exact same time, what I want you to notice is this is the peak and crescendo of the Jupiter-Saturn square. So the Jupiter-Saturn square is also coming through at the same time. If we back this up just a little bit, we'll see that on December 24th, Jupiter and Saturn are square to one another as Mercury is coming through creating a T-square. Now, it's not perfect T-square, but the three planets are coming through at the exact same time. So the December 24th to the 26th, we have the final sort of word from these three planets. But we can start to feel that process shifting right now at the beginning of the week as Mercury turns direct and starts picking up momentum and is, in a sense, heading in this direction. So one thing that's really important to remember is that just like in the sky, where events slowly start to form and take place, and when a planet changes direction and the next place it's heading is into a T-square like this, that sort of anticipation and the sense of something shifting and then moving toward an event horizon is often something that we will feel intuitively or psychically in our lives. We will, around this week, what I would look for in your, how do you notice this? In other words, take note of what you can feel is starting to shift or move or change. Could be inside, could be in a relationship, could be at work. And then notice how that change culminates and reaches this kind of peak expression right around the 24th to the 26th. This is also the peak of the Jupiter-Saturn moment. And so some of the events happening around this time are very important for those deep structures of our lives that are transforming vis-a-vis Jupiter and Saturn. So the Mercury change of direction at the start of this week may not feel like a lot, but it really is shifting everything into the event horizon around the 24th to the 26th. That's just, that's not many days off from the 16th. So we're talking about a change of direction that's putting us on a track for something in about 8 to 10 days from now. Okay, so the other thing that I would mention about Mercury turning direct is that Mercury as the morning star has a distinct and very different personality from an evening star Mercury, especially Mercury in a fire sign. In a fire sign, as a morning star, Mercury is bolder, more assertive, and more aggressive, more passionate, and sort of like, I like to think about morning stars as someone like, like a rooster crowing in the morning, that kind of announcing quality that you have when the sun rises. That feeling of majesty and royalty, and that the day has begun. Get out of bed, shake off the sleep, awaken. You know what card it reminds me of in the tarot is the Judgment card. I don't know if you guys remember the Judgment card, but there's like a trumpet being blasted by an angel and all these dead people are rising from the grave. That's sort of like a morning star Mercury in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a sign that was associated with conquest, victory, competition, and also things like crusades and missions. Often driven by beliefs and convictions and a quality of wisdom or faith, and often like a sort of sagely quality, but blended with battle. And this is why centaurs are such interesting, complex figures in Greek mythology. They are both warriors and sometimes rowdy and crazy and warmongering and sort of unruly. And then there's also this very elevated, wise side to the centaurs, like Chiron, a wise teacher and sage and astrologer. In the Narnia Chronicles, some of my favorite books, centaurs are the keepers of astrological wisdom, and they are also some of the fiercest warriors. So C.S. Lewis picked up directly on the symbolism of the centaurs in ancient mythology and wove them right into Narnia, where they become the keepers of astrological wisdom. They pay attention, the centaurs do, to astrological omens throughout the entire Narnia Chronicles. And they are also like the fiercest warriors. You don't mess with them. So if you think about Mercury turning direct as the morning star in Sagittarius, you have the messenger, Mercury, who is a little bit more trickster-like. It's like take the hermetic, philosophical, kind of riddling, trickster, enigmatic qualities of Hermes, and then put it in the costume of the centaur, and you have ideas and thoughts that are passionate, that are loud, that are heralding the start of something. Morning star Mercuries are often very direct and assertive, and they're about voicing things, especially in the sign of Sagittarius, that you feel passionate about. There's more of a masculine or centrifugal force coming out of Mercury in the evening star positions, the energy moving from the center outward. So Mercury in this position turning direct and then heading into that opposition with Jupiter, right? Wow, this is a time to be passionately speaking, advocating, teaching, learning. This is a time to reflect on our convictions and to think very deeply about how we're evolving, how we're becoming wiser, what we're starting to learn or know or realize about ourselves, and being able to speak it somehow, being able to communicate. It's also about announcements or messages that may be a little bit more provocative or shocking. People may be willing to say things that are intentionally meant to provoke or disturb, because there's a bit of that with Mercury and Sagittarius. Like, I don't care what you think. I'll just say it. I'll say what I think is right or true, and I don't care whose feathers it ruffles. And there may be some need for a diplomacy and a care, and again, being willing to mediate or see things from other people's perspectives, to think and carefully consider before reacting. These are things that Mercury in this position may need some help with, or may have to do in the weeks ahead with the opposition coming to Jupiter and so forth. This is also an innovative Mercury. Mercury in the morning star position was sometimes associated with things like inventors and inventiveness. Morning star Mercury first appearing is a little bit like Uranus in the ancient world, in the sense that it's striking, original, provocative, that new and dramatically unexpected things happen when Mercury appears out of the underworld as the morning star, heralding something new and coming out of somewhere that was invisible and unseen. So we can think about the kind of shocking, dramatic things that show themselves to us, the news or information, the email we get, the letter in the mail, the thing that comes out of our mouth unexpectedly. These are things that are all pretty normal for Mercury turning direct in Sagittarius as a morning star. All right, let's move on. December 18th, the sun will square Neptune. So this, let me back up here. So this comes through Wednesday. We'll definitely be spending some time on this one. And on Wednesday, you can see here that the sun in Sagittarius is going through the square to Neptune in Pisces. Now, both of these signs are Jupiter-ruled signs, and one thing that the Jupiter-ruled signs share in common is they are double-bodied signs that come at the transition of light from one season to the next. So in Sagittarius, we are transitioning from the darkest point of yin into the gradual return of yang from within the yin. That is the light rising that happens in Capricorn. In Pisces, we are transitioning from the last sign of winter into the first sign of spring, where the yin yields within the entirety of the solar year to the yang, and the yang becomes dominant in the 24-hour period. So both signs are signs in which the dark hands over to the light, but in different ways. This is also why Jupiter is intelligently placed in these signs, because Jupiter is very much the builder of cohesion and the ruler of the kind of coherent daytime world. Mercury is in many ways, Mercury is the planet that represents deconstruction, which is why its rulerships come during the seasons in which the transition to dark is happening. The summer solstice right before, Gemini transitioning into the return of darkness from within light, Virgo handing over to Libra as the place where darkness takes over. Both signs have to do with deconstruction and the constant deconstruction and reconstruction that Mercury signifies always begins with Mercury diving into the darkness. So this is, in a sense, 2 times during the solar year, the Mercury ruled signs in which the darkness takes over, and just like Mercury diving into the underworld starts to happen. The point being that Jupiter ruled signs have to do with the building of coherence, and they have an affinity, as does Zeus Jupiter, with the upper world. Zeus's house of rejoicing is the 11th. It rejoices in the daytime sect. And Jupiter, broadly speaking, he's the brother of Hades, who rules the underworld, and Zeus rules the upper world. And they have there's different logic at work, just like there is a kind of different energy dynamic between yang and yin in so many different ways of parsing that out. But when we have 2 planets like the Sun and Neptune in the 2 Jupiter ruled signs, there is a tremendous, you could start describing this in terms of surges of tremendous Jupiterian energy. So the Sun and Neptune together are often idealistic in a beautiful way, romantic. If I think of a movie that's very Sun Neptune, I think of the encouragement from the character played by Robin Williams in Dead Poet Society to his students. What was his name? Mr. Keating? Was that his name? Anyway, he encouraged them to live life, to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. I can't remember who that's quoted from. Maybe it was Tennyson or Whitman or Thoreau or something like that. Anyway, the Sun Neptune holds up to us a gold standard. It could be the myth or the image of Eden or paradise or bliss or oneness. It could be the realization of a dream, the accomplishment of a great mission. The Sun and Neptune usually hold up in front of us an image of something profoundly beautiful, transcendental, heavenly, blissful, otherworldly. And it kind of casts that image in gold. And there's usually 2 ways that people have of responding to this. This image can be very seductive and very illusory in the sense that it causes us to condemn anything in the world that can't live up to that image. So there's a lot of failure and disappointment and angst and frustration around Sun-Neptune transits because things cannot be ideal somehow, or because things can't live up to it. And that's always a thing with any kind of Neptune interaction. And so delusions of grandeur, not grounded in reality, very Sun-Neptune. On the other hand, sometimes when we see a tremendous, beautiful image, or we're inspired by something hopeful and amazing, we can tell ourselves there's nothing wrong with this world not being able to embody perfection. We still need images of perfection to lead and guide us. I know, like, for example, in the stage of writing a book that I'm in, right? There's a way in which I realize that everything I hope or wish or think a work of art can be, that the final result will be an approximation of the original idea that I had in my mind as a creator. And I have to live with that. I have to accept that. And then I have to rejoice and be glad in what comes through, as opposed to being disappointed that what came through is only an approximation of the ideal I had in my mind as a creative. If we don't learn how to live with that sort of falling short, then we'll draw back a bowstring but never let it go. Very Sun in Sagittarius square Neptune in Pisces. Let's aim for something, but then I realize it's impossible for me to hit the sun with an arrow, so I'll release the tension of the bow, or release my aim. I'll throw my bow down. I'll give up. No, holding the tension of an ideal alongside of whatever we're capable of approximating, and the grace and acceptance, the surrender to live with however good we can do relative to an ideal. This is also why people struggle to stop drinking. I mean, this is something I've noticed as someone who had some addiction issues in my early 20s, which, thank God, I've been in sobriety since then. But when, and no, I don't condemn people who have moderate relationship with anything, but for me, it was like, oh, this feels good. This feels great. Well, then let's do more. Let's make the good feeling go bigger and more. And whereas, someone like my wife, who's never had an issue with drinking, she's like, "Oh, this feels good. It doesn't need to feel more good than this. Like, this is enough." And so her one drink would be fine, whereas I'd have to have 5 or 6, right? Everyone's different genetic backgrounds. There's alcoholism in both of our families. So one person responds a little bit differently. So, we all have to learn how do we relate to things that feel good, that look good, that draw us towards something beautiful or good, and then live with the sort of middle path, which is that I'm only going to be able to get so close to something so ideal, or something that looks so good or makes me feel so good. I have to be careful that I don't try to fly too high, because Neptune's sun is a little bit like Icarus. You get your wings burnt off because you fly too close to the sun and then you crash down into the ocean. And this is often what happens with people who have trouble modulating their relationship with pleasure, right? Or, kind of regulating the nervous system with things that feel really good or things that are very overwhelming. So the Sun square Neptune aspect this week is a fascinating one, given that, again, it's taking place in these Jupiter ruled signs, because Jupiter has the tendency to be so big and unifying and abundant and fertile and rich. And so I feel like there's a lot of charisma in this square that we're experiencing this week, and the potential to feel really high and good about things. We just have to remember that when we move through archetypes, there will be a come down. One thing that I'll never forget that James Hillman said really had a big influence on my life when I first read it. He said, so much of how we live a life is how we live a life toward death. Like, wow, okay. I mean, it sounds kind of obvious, but what he meant is that to the soul, the thought of our death and the keeping the fact of our mortality, and that we have to think to myself, my life is about dying well. Sounds kind of morbid, right? It sounds kind of like, oh, sort of bummer. I'm going to live. I don't need to think about death. But a soulful life, from his perspective, that he wrote about quite a bit, is one that is not spent in denial of our eventual death. It's not spent like a puer, like an Icarus, trying to fly so close to an ideal within a mortal framework that we somehow try to abandon or move beyond our mortality. Neptune's sun will hold out an image to you of eternal youth, right? Of eternal bliss. It's like, yeah, and you're going to die someday, for all of us. So how do we hold things of tremendous greatness or beauty in perspective, given that we're also here to live with a kind of intimacy, an intimate knowledge of our dying? The soul has an interest in our death as much as it does our life. Death and how we die and how we move through the portals of death are just as valuable to think about and live for from the perspective of an eternal soul as the living portions are. And that is something that can really get lost on the Sun square Neptune when we get captured by these images of living forever, with these images of things that appear to eternally solve the problem of pain, or eternally solve the problem of suffering or boredom, or of the kind of disappointment we feel when this world can only just get so close to things, but not go all the way with respect to those images of beauty. So this is stuff that it can be very deep Sun Neptune moments, although many of us will just experience it as a flash for a day or two of intense feelings, desires, longings, stirring of hope, and then, a kind of sloping back into our lives. Paying attention to those moments, though, is important, because it's not that often in our lives that we get the experience to look at visions of things like the Sun Neptune that they provide us with, and sort of look right into it and go, I see you. That's beautiful. And I choose to move toward all the beautiful things in the world with full acceptance of the world I live in and exactly what makes it beautiful and sacred, just as it is. That my death is as important as my life. Things like that. That I'm not trying to do away with suffering. There's no, I'm not going to allow myself to be frustrated with the presence of darkness. I'm going to live with it. And then beauty becomes something richer and more textured and more personal. Anyway, all right, waxing philosophical and poetic about Sun Neptune, just totally captured by the spirit of the transit as I talk. So let's go on to the next one, and Venus trine Jupiter. Now this transit, by the way, that Sun Neptune dynamic, you'll feel here at the beginning of the week, it will really fade by about Friday into Saturday when the sun switches signs into Capricorn. Now let's look at the Venus trine Jupiter. Here we go. So Venus is trine to Jupiter, one of the more benefic transits of the year. And Venus here in Aquarius, trining Jupiter in Gemini. We're going to do a couple talks on this one. We'll do a talk about what to watch for. We'll also do some horoscopes where we'll connect those trigonal houses. For example, if this were a birth chart with Cancer rising, you see 8 and 12. We're going to talk about the fact that these two houses were both considered moksha houses. And what does that mean? In Indian astrology, the houses connected by trines are all connected through one of the four major philosophical concerns of human life: moksha, dharma, artha, kama. We're going to talk about what those are, how they translate into some of the topics of the houses, and how we might connect the benefics in their trine through two of the houses. So if this were, again, this is a Cancer rising chart we're looking at right now. If this were a birth chart, houses 8 and 12, both moksha houses, have to do with things that liberate us, with things that free us from suffering. Well, to be freed from suffering in the 8th house often has to do with attachments that we have and the relinquishment of those of attachments, or the kinds of things that through connections to other people, they come to help liberate us spiritually. And some of those things that help liberate us spiritually with other people are not always easy. Think of the most difficult breakups you've had, or think about the ways in which you've had to disentangle yourself from unhealthy people and how liberating it was for you spiritually, emotionally, physically. That's a very 8th house kind of theme. But look at the 12th house here. The 12th house, also a moksha house, really because the 12th house takes us out of this world. Whether that's through meditation, contemplation, solitude, distance from the world, all 12th house topics, or if it is through something like sickness or feeling lost or overwhelmed or confused, and other kinds of things that are much harder, like addiction, or the kinds of things that take us out of control or undermine us, as well as things that just take us beyond the world in general. So what I really like about this contact between these two planets, if this were a Cancer rising chart, and this is just a preview of what we'll be doing later in the week, and I'll connect houses philosophically like this all through all horoscopes, which will be really fun. The connection between the benefics here would suggest that there is an important sort of benevolent opportunity for some liberation from attachment, from sickness, from false perceptions, from things that undermine, or that there might even be positive things coming in for a Cancer, right, through their relationships with other people that serve to give them some perspective that goes beyond themselves, or that is somehow otherworldly, or that begins a process of spiritual and psychological liberation from various unconscious dimensions of their life. So what a benefic connection. I mean, it's a little darker in the moksha houses for sure, and that's a part of why they're associated with spiritual liberation, because spiritual liberation for many of us involves processing of difficult things. Spiritual liberation from the standpoint of Indian astrology has to do with relinquishing things that darken our consciousness, right? So this benefic transit would, in a sense, be helping Cancerians to liberate from areas of darkness. What kinds of resources come in to do that? So that's a little sample of the kind of horoscopes we're going to be doing later this week. But what I want to talk about more generally right now is just Venus and Jupiter connecting. Now, imagine that in the ancient world, the basic meaning behind Venus and Jupiter's benefic status had to do with the fact that they were planets that were associated with the kinds of things in consensus reality that we all go, yeah, like that, good food, sex, romance, humor, entertainment, sensuality, all things that give us pleasure or happiness or harmony or connection, that make us feel as though the events in our life are able to be synthesized, harmonized, integrated, that all of that was generally given the name of good fortune or good luck. That's Venus. Now, there can be lots of other meanings for Venus, but just generally speaking, Venus had the meaning of being about pleasant, happy, fortunate, lucky, good things that we, in everyday things. Today, for example, I'm pretty happy. I don't have a lot of work today. After I do this, so we go to the gym. Then I have the afternoon open. I'll probably play my guitar. I'll hang out a little bit. Not every day is like that. Today feels like a fortunate day, you know. Not surprisingly, as I'm making this, Venus is basically at my midheaven in Aquarius. So I have a work day that's a little lighter, right? So, you know, it can be that simple that Venus just represents the kind of fortunate, flowing, you know, pleasing elements of everyday life. Venus was associated with conditions that make plants grow, you know, like the moderate, moist, sunny, warm weather, you know, something like that. Jupiter is also associated with good fortune and good luck, but bigger, more cosmic. So when you think of Venus, you're really thinking of the everyday world, the mundane world. When you think about the good luck of Jupiter, you're thinking more about a larger benevolent sense of the cosmos conspiring to support you. It has a bigger, more cosmic container behind it. When I think of Jupiter, I think of the fact that there'll be a day in your life where you I'll just give you an example from my own life. I remember when I met my first teacher of horary astrology. I was giving a talk on Chiron at an NCGR group in Long Island, and I met a guy named Chris, and he ended up becoming my horary teacher. And when I met him, and then I started studying horary with him, I just had this feeling that the universe had benevolently conspired to bring a teacher into my life who I genuinely liked. He would, an Episcopal priest, he would end up doing my wedding and baptizing my daughter. And like, just when I, so, and that was, there was a really nice Jupiter transit happening in my life when I met him. So long story short, when you have that feeling, like your faith, your hope, your sense of the universe being a coherent, supportive place that's putting you in touch with the people or the teachers or the ideas or the, there are moments in our life that are very Jupiterian where we feel like that greater form of cosmic confirmation or affirmation is sort of, the wind is at our back. Not surprisingly, Jupiter is associated with the trigons. All of the houses connected by trines are connected through the aspect that was considered Jupiterian in the trine. And the paradigmatic example of a house that sort of embodies the trine and Jupiterian energy is the 11th, the place of allies and friends, the place of powerful resources that confirm and affirm our life or our path or our ambitions. When you're in business even, and you have the feeling that you're meeting the right people and connections and things just open and start building and growing, there's a feeling. It's very Jupiterian. So now take that everyday version of good fortune, pair it with that broader sense of cosmic support, bring the two together, and you're like, wow, things are feeling kind of lucky, things are feeling good, and things are feeling connected in this broader sense at the same time. There's a feeling of things coming together, conspiring together in both simple ways and bigger ways, in both basic, everyday, human, physical ways, and in ways that conspire in a larger philosophical, paradigmatic way. Now, some people may feel this more than others, and the reason for that is going to be with respect to the houses they land in, where you feel it, and also, are they hitting planets in your chart? This is why we'll do horoscopes later this week and connect these trines. And I think you're going to love that episode because, as I just showed you, the connections between the houses connected by trines philosophically is fascinating. That's also the subject of my 2025 masterclass series, available through the Kickstarter. So we'll talk about that, and I'll tell you a little bit more about where I'm heading with all of that. All right, finally, the winter solstice. All I want to do is tell you about a few suggestions I have for ritualizing the winter solstice if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm going to talk a little bit about why it both does and doesn't matter which hemisphere you live in with respect to astrology. And I'm also going to tell you why there is so much more to the sign of Capricorn. It's actually rooted in the meaning of the winter solstice and some of the deeper yin qualities of Capricorn that we frequently miss. Especially when people say Capricorn is a sign of patriarchy. Oh, there's nothing that drives me more nuts than that ridiculous claim. But I'll tell you why, because it's a really deep, earthy, feminine sign. And I think there's a talk that I did actually somewhat recently on this where I talked about Pan and the Nightmare, an essay or a book from James Hillman, and I read some passages and I talked about Pan and the relationship with Capricorn as this very nocturnal, deep, earthy yin sign. So anyway, I won't go off on my soapbox now. You guys, there should be like a little flashing icon that comes up. One of Adam's soapboxes is coming. He's going to start harping on people that don't like Capricorn. Because I have a Capricorn moon and I have to defend myself. Okay, well, anyhow, I love all of you. I hope you're having a great day today, a great start to the week. This gives you some good things to think about and work with. Remember, we have a long ways to go to meet our backer goal. We really need your support. Any donation, every donation helps. Pick up a great reward through the Kickstarter when you donate and support the channel. If you get something good out of this channel, if once a week, once a month, several times a year, something really clicks and lights up for you because of this work, please consider supporting us so we can keep doing this and support our staff and all of the good things we try to do to make astrology accessible for people. That is it for today. Stick around to learn more about the rewards that are available when you support the channel. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm going to tell you about the different rewards that we offer when you donate and support our channel in the year ahead. So you'll find a link to the Kickstarter in the description of this video, in the comments section of this video, as well as on our website, nightlightastrology.com. If you head over there, you'll see at the top of the page there is a menu item that says Kickstarter 2025. You can click on that and be taken over to the Kickstarter campaign page. So once you're there, if you scroll down on the right-hand side, you're going to see different pledge levels and different gifts and sales that we run as a way of saying thank you for your support. So among those, our most popular offering by far are the major discounts that we offer on our training programs. So if you are interested in studying astrology at Nightlight in 2025, whether you're a brand new student or a currently enrolled student who's thinking of taking one of our year 2, 3 horary programs, you're going to find that these are the best rates that we run on the entire year. And we do this as a way of both saying thank you and also of helping us raise funds to support the channel, our staff, and everything we do. So you'll see attend one Nightlight course there. That's about 50% off the total cost of the program and about $500 off the early bird rate. And then you'll scroll down and you'll see that if you bundle 2 courses together, the savings go way up. Bundle 3, they go up even more. I mean, the difference between the 2 and 3 class package is $200. So $200 more, you get 3 of our year-long programs. And if you get all the way to the 4 class pass, then you have all 4 years of our program. You can take them at any pace you like, renew them whenever you like. There's no timeline on when you use these class passes. And you will have all 4 years of content at about 75% off each of the programs individually when you get that bundle. So those are our best savings for sure. Highly recommend those. If you have any questions about our courses or programs, email us info@nightlightastrology.com or look at the website under the classes page, courses page. You'll find information about each of the individual courses we offer. And then if you scroll up, you're going to find some of our other programs that are greatly discounted. Ashley's Herbal Foundations apprenticeship course, which many people are interested in who come through our Moon Circle that Ashley and I lead each month. You scroll up, you're going to find our masterclass series for 2025, greatly discounted, as well as our Roots and Spheres Moon Circle, greatly discounted. There's hundreds of dollars of savings in each of those. So we really try to make sure that the Kickstarter acts as a good flash sale for all of our programs. You'll then find some really nice prices on previous archive talks, like our 2024 archive masterclass bundle, which is about 30 hours worth of content on specialized topics in astrology. You can see the topics listed in each of the bundles as you scroll through. 2023's masterclass bundle, huge savings on those and a lot of really great content. You'll see a few reading options as you continue to go from the bottom to the top. You'll see the 2025 year ahead mini reading. There's only 30 of these. These are individualized birth chart readings that I do looking at the most significant transit in your birth chart for 2025. I record those personally. You'll then see that there is an Ask 3 Horary Questions option where you can get 3 horary questions to redeem whenever you'd like within the year ahead. Those are kind of yes, no predictive questions. Will I get the job? Will we get together? Things like that. Then you'll see the Astrology for Complete Beginners course is also discounted through the Kickstarter. This is a great 10 hours worth of content for people who are brand new to astrology. So whether that's you or maybe a gift for somebody else. And then you're going to see some individual master classes that are greatly discounted from the past year. So all of 2024's masterclass series are the archives of which 8 to 10 hours each are on sale. And then scroll up a little bit more and you'll see one of our most popular offerings, which are the year ahead horoscope readings. These year ahead horoscope readings include 30 to 45 minutes of a breakdown of all the major transits of the year ahead for each sun and rising signs. You get all of them with this package, which is a great deal. It's like 10 hours worth of content, 8, 9, 10 hours, somewhere in there. I haven't finished recording all of them yet. So as of the time I'm recording this, I'm anticipating it'll land around 10 hours. But yeah, anyway, so you scroll up, you'll see those horoscope videos will all be delivered to you right around January 1st when the Kickstarter ends. Scroll up a little bit more, you'll find The Oracle Speaks, which is my book, and this is being released chapter by chapter. It is a book about the inner experience of learning to speak with oracles, and it is being released chapter by chapter in both text and audiobook form, so you can listen along to my new book. And that takes us up to the Astrology of 2025 video. This, for your donation at the $50 level, gives you an exclusive talk breaking down all of the major astrological transits of 2025. I look in depth at some of the biggest things happening in the year ahead and break them down in advance. And that's the only place I release that video or that take on the whole year ahead. Finally, at the very top, the most basic level of donation, you'll see the Astrology of 2025 calendar. This is a PDF calendar we design and make that allows you to track and move along with the astrology as the year unfolds. This is also great if you want to track what we're going to be talking about week by week on my channel. You'll get a glimpse at the biggest transits of each day and month and week. And that will give you some sense of where we're heading with our coverage of the astrology on the channel as the year unfolds. So again, any questions about any of the rewards that you see, email us info@nightlightastrology. Link is in the description, comments, or on the website, nightlightastrology.com. Help us get to 1,937 backers by January 1st. We deeply appreciate your contribution. We try to make sure we have some really special rewards to say thank you when you contribute. All right, take it easy. Bye.